Going on, beautiful people? This is me, the Infinity Midwife, coming to you once again. I hope you're taking care of your minds, your hearts, and your entire being. Okay, I was called to do this one because I feel like it needs to be said. I hope you guys are doing great. So I'm just coming in live. You know, it's not like I have a bunch of views and people waiting on me, but I'm still going live because, you know, it is what it is. When you're being called to do something, it's not about the external results. It's about the calling and the purpose of why you're doing it, right? So when you're being called to do something, it's not necessarily waiting on a certain result. It's just doing it and then leaving it up for someone to one day listen to this and be like, makes sense, you know, or helping someone on their own journey. So this video that I'm doing today is why being a curse breaker can be a lonely journey. Okay. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, good, you know, you're keeping up pace. If not, I do suggest that you go and watch them of what is a curse, what is a curse breaker, what is a curse breaker. That's the 3 different types of curse that exist. And this video is more so sensitive because I do consider myself to be a curse breaker. And so I'm making this video as to, you know, as to why I think that being a curse breaker can be a lonely journey. So first of all, when you start on your journey, or when you start sorry, just a second. Sorry about that, guys. So when you start on your journey, okay, of being an awakened soul, and you start realizing that there was a lot of illusions about your own identity that you started dismantling, you realize that you're going to face a lot of obstacles. Okay, right, guys. Okay. I'm back. I had a hair I had a hair in my mouth. That is really, really weird. Okay, so just going back to what I was saying. So when you are on your evolved journey of being a curse breaker, first of all, you realize that you've lived an illusion maybe all your life. And you realize that it's really, really challenging because you can no longer necessarily hang with people that you used to hang with. A lot of people are not going to understand the way you start walking, the way you start questioning things, the way you start, you know, pulling your energy away from different situations, circumstances, family, friends. And people are not going to understand why, right? Not everybody is on the same journey, on the same pace, right? Some people are going to awaken. Some people are already awakened as soon as they come onto this earth. Some people it's going to take time. Some people choose not to awaken, although they have the information. And, you know, it's okay. You know, we're not here to judge. Everybody is on a different path at a different level on their journey. And it's going to cause a lot of conflict if, you know, when you start awakening, you start questioning things, you start questioning your own beliefs around your own identity, and then you start changing, right? It's just like a caterpillar that becomes a beautiful butterfly, right? Caterpillars around the one that chooses to transform are not going to understand, you know, the transformation that you're undergoing, right? Because you are isolating yourself. You're going through changes on so many levels: mental, emotional, spiritual, psychic, physical. So there's a whole transformation that is operating within you. And once you start tapping into it, not a lot of people are going to be able to recognize, first of all, what you're going through. Some are going to call you crazy, delusional, Some are going to want to hinder that process by whichever way of trying to, bring more curses into your reality. Some people are going to want to, just shut you up because you are requiring them to start questioning the world around themselves, right? And not a lot of people are willing to deal with change. Change is part of those that wants to evolve, that wants to transform. And, I do call myself an agent of change, transformational agent. And, I try to remain as real as possible and as authentic as possible. Even with my children, I relay to them the information about, what it is to be a human being. We're not here to repeat, previous past life's mistakes. We're not here to stay stagnant. We're here to do better, right? In all ways. And so even me, my children get to question, some of my ways, some of my reflections, some of my thoughts, some of my patterns, and I allow it, and if you know where we come from, right? The African traditions and cultures, children are not allowed to question parents, right? Children need to just shut up and do as, the adult is being asked of you, right? But because I've undergone this journey of being a transformational agent, I recognize that my children are coming here are just as valuable as I am. They're just as worthy of the truth that I am. So, when we're having conversations, when we're talking, where circumstances are happening, I'm not just shutting them up and asking them to go to their room. There's, I create space for, conversations to be had, emotions to be felt, thought processes to be questioned, both on their end and on my end as well. And I find it healthy. Maybe not on all levels because they're not there yet, but, I try to awaken their eyes to, a whole lot of strength that they have, and, their blind spots that they need to work on. I do try to bring that out as well, through circumstances that arises, right? So nobody's perfect. I'm way, way far from being perfect. And, I'm just a learning bug here on earth, trying to better myself every day, right? But I feel like, as a curse breaker on this journey, it can be very lonely because, there's always going to be judgment. There's always going to be people trying to, question, where you're coming from with this information. Why are you teaching the things that you do? People that maybe known you in the past and, that viewed you a certain way or judged you a certain way, you transform, you become this butterfly and you come up brand new, and people are like, who you think you are? Like, where are you coming from with this information? Right? Because they're so caught up in, the identity or the remembrance or the memory of what they had of you, right? So they feel that they're entitled to maybe your growth, your evolution, where you're going, your success, how you're moving, how you're thinking. And, it can be a very lonely journey because not everyone is going to accept. Not everyone is going to embark. Not everyone is going to support. Not everyone is going to understand, right? Because everybody is different, walking different levels on their journey as well, right? And it can even be like, it could be heartbreaking, especially like when you think you have people cheering for you, especially the closest ones to you, maybe your family members, siblings, and you realize that they're not rooting for you. If anything, they want you to shut up because you questioning your identity is also being reflective on, their own identity as well. Hold on a second. This is fucked up. Let's keep going. That's some fucked up shit. So what I want to say as well is, so as a curse breaker, I feel like, you're going to want to do so much for people around you now that you've become a butterfly, right? You're flapping your wings, you're knowing how to fly, you know how to do all these tricks. It's just like a hacker, right? When you start becoming a hacker, in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing. You're breaking certain firewalls, you're getting used to, using certain codes to break certain barriers, right? You're trying to navigate your way into whichever world or internet that is. And, by you, tapping in more, you start becoming more well-versed into whatever unique code signature that you have, or however, you specialize in. And then you start doing things different, right? And then you start creating a pseudo name for yourself, and you want to share that information with everybody, but there's a reason why we call you hacker, right? There's a reason why people give you this negative connotation as to why you are a hacker doing bad things, right? People are going to want to judge you, say that you're doing, again, it's ignorance, right? But people are going to judge either way, okay? So you, the curse breaker, is being seen the same way, right? People are gonna judge as to why you're breaking the curses that you are. This has been tradition going on in our family for the longest. Who you think you are, coming in trying to change things. In African traditions, your parents are entitled to almost everything you own and everything you have and everything that you are. And, as a curse breaker, you can come through and be like, no, this is not what we're going to do. We're going to stop abusing one another. We're going to stop, exploiting our children. We're going to stop doing certain things that was once seen as, doable or acceptable or even encouraged. We're going to start doing things by bringing back respect, right? Because we're all individuals. We're all souls. And so as a curse breaker, sometimes, you want to share the good information with people. You want to bring them in. You want to bring the change around you, but not everyone is willing to change, right? Even in your intimate relationships, you're going to meet people on your journey, and, you're going to want to help them. You're going to want to share how, they can heal. They can break curses as well. They can elevate, they can tap in. But if they are not ready to change, no matter how much you want to carry them with you, it's just going to hinder your process, right? And so as a curse breaker, I do feel that it is a very personal journey. It is a very personal and private journey to be able to isolate yourself, go into your cocoon for how long, break down some curses, reinvent yourself, reinvent your identity. And I want to talk about this a little bit. When we talk about identity, a lot of people get to the extent of, and a lot of people who are ignorant or who want to stay stuck on why they shouldn't change will want to question the validity of, the curse breaker, right? As far as going as to, using irrelevant statements as, well, if you are changing your identity, why don't you become a man? Or, if you're changing your identity or questioning your identity, why don't you question your biology? Why don't you just relinquish, your gender and things like that? And what I want to say is, again, being a curse breaker is a very personal journey. Not everyone is going to undergo a sex change. Not everyone is going to want to relinquish their gender. Not everyone is going to want to relinquish the color of their skin. It is all a personal thing, right? So we cannot make, I want to say general a general statement or a general observation when it comes to a soul journey or being a curse breaker, right? Not everybody's going to think the same. Not everybody's going to do the same. Not everybody is going to go to the extent of, changing their whole identity. At the end of the day, it's up to you, the person only, to, it's crazy. The person only to want to change their behavior, right? Change their behavior, change their identity, change, how they want to look, how they want to present themselves, change their name, right? And as long as they are in alignment with their soul purpose or their soul signature, who are we on the external to say that this person is doing it wrong, right? Who are we to question however that person decides to transform, right? And now I'm not even throwing shade to the transgender community. I'm far from being whatever phobic, okay? And I feel like it's a rhetoric. I feel like it's a narrative to silence people to ever share their views or to share their, their perception of things. And with everything that is happening, like, I'm not even part of this cancel culture and this whole silencing people for whatever reason. You share whatever you want to share. You share your perception, and if people want to listen, they listen. If they don't want to listen, they just move on to the next. Nobody's here forcing no agenda, and those are just agendas that are external, right? That are dwelling in this external reality. If you wanted to make it your personal battle, that's up to you, okay? And I'm not taking up nobody's battles, okay, on this external realm. I'm taking up my personal battles that are being called unto me from whatever soul mission I got, okay? So I'm not taking up no external battles that people, institution, entities are throwing out there, because at the end of the day, you don't know who started it. You don't know nothing about it, right? You just know it's being pushed, right? And then people take sides. People want to defend it. People want to defend rights. At the end of the day, if you are so focused on the external reality, you are missing out on whatever is happening internally, is what I'm trying to say. So as long as you are not, taking or being distracted, I want to say, using different agendas to being distracted from whatever's going on within, from your own mission, soul mission, then you're missing the point, right? Being distracted by different entities that are pushing different agendas. At the end of the day, it's really up to you to know, how you want to use your energy and where you want to focus it. Okay. And, sometimes I look at how, the world is this external reality, how there's so much distractions, and, any type of civil right movements or any types of movement or, trend to defend a certain people or a certain group or a certain I want to say group or, living group or human being or whatever have you, there are so many distractions out there, is what I'm trying to say. And it's up to you to really know where you want to focus your energy. You don't need to be in any of those battles, right? Because maybe any of those battles are representative of, your true identity that needs to be explored, that needs to be unraveled, that needs to be shared with the rest of the world. I feel like taking sides as to, the different agendas that are being pushed out creates more illusion of separation, creates more distraction, and creates more, again, illusions as to, the real issue being, are you becoming a curse breaker yourself? Are you becoming more of a butterfly? Are you, attending to your own garden, right? And if you're out there, taking up any types of agendas or pushing for any types of agenda. And I'm not saying it's wrong to do it, but I'm just saying, there's always, choose your battles wisely, right? Do not fully distract yourself with questions that, will only take you so far, right? At the end of the day, if you are connected to your soul mission, your soul purpose, however you choose to battle for the highest good is what is going to matter. Okay. This is what I wanted to say. So again, as a soul breaker, I feel like so many of us curse breakers, so many of us want to help. Okay. And when I say help, is because, we've probably undergone lots and lots of transformation through different trials, traumas. We've healed, or we're still on our healing journey, because the journey never stops, right? You're always learning new things about yourself. You're always encountering people, individuals that are going to be reflective of where you are on your journey. And that's okay. That's the purpose, right? To continue to evolve and to learn and to get to know yourself better and to know what it is that you are working for and what it is that you're not working for, what is in alignment, what is not in alignment. So it's just like polishing a diamond. At some point, you're going to look at the diamond from different angles. You're going to want to know, how you want to shape this diamond so that it is, exactly, the expression of your identity. And so I feel like when we are helping, right, there's always going to be opposition, right? There's always going to be opposition as to, who said we needed your help, right? There's always going to be, and then there's always going to be a group of, I want to say antagonists, but also those that feel that they are entitled to how you need to help them as well, right? So people that are evolving at a different pace on their soul journey are going to want to feel like, you need to take up their burdens for them, right? You need to heal them, right? Without ever taking accountability for their own lessons, their own responsibility of, their own imprints on their own life journey. Because this is what a curse breaker ultimately is. It takes accountability for whatever contracts and curses that they've undergone or that they've allowed or agreed upon. And they start looking at it, and then they start, forgiving themselves. They start breaking the contracts. They start relearning, or they start opening up and have with compassion as to, how they can better shape their identity that is more reflective of their uniqueness, right? And it's a personal journey. It's not something that people can force upon you. It's not something that can be done in a group setting, right? And I do want to say, even though you will find that there are retreats, there are gurus out there that are doing the work of group healing, it only works to the extent of the participants and their willingness to do the work when they're by themselves. And that's what we call integration, right? You can get the information, but what do you do with it, right? You can be in a group of healing, and those that really do the work are probably not in the group. They're too busy, staying in their space and, observing, analyzing, healing, praying, meditating, whatever you want to call it. But there is work that goes into this. It's not just something you just wake up and say, you are a curse breaker or you are an agent of change, right? It's just like bodybuilders, right? When they go into the gym, for someone to say you're a bodybuilder, it shows right off the bat. We look at your body and we're like, okay, she or he is a bodybuilder, right? They've worked for it. We see the transformation right away. Okay. It's a little different for a curse breaker because people are gonna want to, I want to say, question you, right? Question the amount of knowledge that you have, the amount or the integrity or the, authenticity as to where you are on your journey. They're going to want to judge it. They're going to want to look at it, analyze it as if they were on their journey and being, their own curse breaker. A lot of the time, curse breakers, or those that are not necessarily curse breakers, are going to feel entitled to judge and say whether or not you are a curse breaker. Okay? Although, nobody's the same on their journey, right? And so I just want to say, especially in the spiritual community, or the enlightened community, there's a lot of competition, right? As to who's doing it with authenticity and who's doing it for the fame, the glory, the money. Like, we all know all the work that you put in is needed to be compensated, whichever way, form, shape. Okay. And I feel like in the enlightened community, you will have people that are doing it more for the fame and the money than for the actual purpose of helping others, right? And then you're going to have as well those that are shaming or that are bashing the enlightened community, feeling that they don't need to be compensated for their work because anybody can do the work, right? Anybody can show up with tarot cards and do divination. Anybody can interpret tarot cards and do divination. Anybody can just tap into their intuition and be like, well, this energy and this energy. Anybody can do that, right? You just need to sit quietly and do it, right? Everybody's going to say that. But what they don't realize is that those that truly do the work is not something that happened overnight. Or maybe it's a sudden gift that is given to you from the Most High. Or it's a sudden, I want to say, activation that happens when you are ready, right? The teacher appears when the student is ready. But maybe the student had to go to many, many trials before being ready. And it's only when you start activating certain codes in your soul purpose or in your soul code that it will start activating. You don't know when it happens. You don't know, right? But when it happens, just hope that you are ready, right? Because again, it's not something that someone's going to tell you that is happening. It's not something, yes, people can confirm. Those that do divination can confirm, something about your journey that is being unlocked, right? There are those that specialize in reading the energies, reading where we are on our journey. There are astrologers. There are those that, there are different types of divination out there, right? There are different gifts that exist out there, depending on your soul key or your soul coding. But where you are on your journey is going to unlock, right? It's just like a watch. When you look at how the mechanism works, right? There are many, many wheels that are turning. But then, depending on where you are on your soul journey, at some point it's just going to click in, and then it's going to start, unraveling, right? I know, I'm pretty sure I've seen that. Maybe in Doctor Strange. I don't know if you've seen Doctor Strange, a Marvel movie, where there's like this door that is unlocking. I don't know if it's when the high priestess is unlocking a dimension, but just, you kind of see like many mechanisms that are just unraveling. Well, this is how I feel like, soul activation or awakening happens. It's just like a mechanisms that starts unraveling, and then you start getting different downloads pertaining as to where the activation happened, because again, we are a vessel. And I feel like on, our vessels, there are different points that are going to activate, right? There are many, many ways to explain this. I'm going to use the very basic chakra system, because if you are familiar with the chakras, it's 7 points on your body. Some say it's more, some say it's 13, some say it's infinite. So those that we know, right? Those that the general mass knows, it's 7 points, right? There's the crown chakra, there's the third eye, there's the throat, there's the heart, there's this point right here, there's the center, or I want to call it the action point. There's then the pleasure points, and then the root, which is located at the base of your spine. And so when you start going on your journey, some of those points are going to activate, but depending on how much you've done the work. Now, when I say doing the work, it can seem pretty easy. Like, what do you mean doing the work? Just silencing yourself and being in a corner and lighting up some incense with some candles and just listening in? Yes, there's that part, but there is also a lot of introspection that goes into this. Now, if we are just looking at, again, the 3 different chakras, the lower chakras, right? The base chakra, the root chakra, this is where, your security, your inheritance, how much groundedness you have into who you are as a soul, right? If you have any wounding around it, you need to heal it. But before healing it, you need to have the awareness that you have wounding in that base chakra, right? If you have any issues regarding abandonment, if you have any issues that were being passed down from lifetimes, if you have any issues, you need to have that awareness. And that is only when you start questioning, again, the type of curses or contracts you've been walking with, that you can then start questioning, which contracts or curses were hindering those different points, so that you can start having the awareness and start breaking those contracts or those curses and start healing those points, right? So if you have insecurities as to your identity or who you are, if you don't necessarily believe that you are secure within yourself, all those things are related to your root chakra, right? So you have insecurities that needs to be healed, and there's going to be a lot of questioning as to your upbringing, your childhood, the type of tradition that has been passed down onto your parents. And, there's this whole unraveling about your identity. That is why you need to sit down and look at the type of contracts or curses that you've inherited. Now, the same will go to the sacral chakra, right? The one related to pleasure. If you are ridden with guilt, if you have a hard time finding time to have pleasure, or just being a pleasurable being that finds joy, or, you have a hard time expressing your emotions, this is where it is all related. What types of curses or contracts you've accepted or you've agreed upon, whether forced or not, as to why you're getting blockages in that point, right? And then you need to start unraveling, where does it come from? You need to get back to the original sin, I like to call it, right? And then when you do that type of work for each point, right? When you do those type of works, some people are going to be very blocked from this part down because of sexual trauma, of heavy trauma. Most of the time, like I said, the feminine essence resides in those lower points. So if you had any form of, I want to say, attack towards your own feminine essence or your own feminine identity, because we're all comprised of 2 essences, masculine and feminine. If you are not aware, or if you have not acknowledged that you do have feminine essence within you, then you surely have blockages in one of those 3 points, or maybe all 3, right? And it will all depends. As a soul, as a vessel, we've all came here with, unblocked chakra points or blocked chakra points, depending on the type of contracts and curses we've agreed upon or was forced upon us. Okay, so you will find people that have maybe 2 chakras that are totally blocked. Some are intertwined, depending on the type of upbringing or contracts that they've agreed upon prior to coming into this realm. So it depends, but you need to do the work to start looking at all the points and realize, okay, so for instance, we'll look at the heart, okay, the heart chakra. So if you've had a lot of betrayals happening, right, if you felt that you weren't really loved, or you had a hard time loving, or you had a hard time forgiving, that's the space of where you're gonna have your heart chakra blocked. You're gonna have a hard time forgiving. You're gonna have a hard time loving people or allowing love to come in. So whether you received it or you gave it, it's all gonna be indicative of the type of blockage you had. If you were a person that was always doing things for others and never doing things for yourself, if you were a person that was extremely motivated in helping others but never really motivated in helping self, those are the type of wounding that happen here. Now, these type of wounding can be surrounding, I want to say injustice, right? So if you felt a lot of injustice happening, you will have some form of not blockage, but disruptions in this type of chakra. So you have to do the work. And by doing the work means being very, very vulnerable with yourself, because it's going to require you to be true with yourself and to, recognize that, whether you've agreed upon certain contracts or certain curses or not, it is your responsibility as, the human that is having this experience, the soul that is having this human experience, to want to, be responsible about it and take accountability for it. And I'm sitting here and talking to you, there are still some blockages that I need to work with. Like it's an ongoing work. It's not something that you just finish doing. It is something that you constantly observe. It is something that you constantly look at. Okay? Your throat chakra. A lot of the time, the throat chakra is related to the root chakra or the sacral chakra. If you had a hard time feeling emotions, probably you couldn't even express them, or however curse you've agreed upon or you've accepted, some curses you were blocked from expressing yourself or expressing the emotions or expressing your truth. Depending on, so there are correlations, there are intertwined blockages that is going to require you to work on certain blockages in order to, help unblock other blockages that are on those different other type of points. Okay. So, the throat chakra is related to your truth. Were you able to speak when you were younger? Were you censored when you would speak a certain truth? And, especially if I go back to our African ways of doing things in African culture, children were readily silenced when, they would ask a question that made sense, or, when they're being told something that doesn't necessarily make sense. They question it. Right away, parents are hushing the children, and if you don't listen, you get a beating. Right? This is how things used to be done. Right? So we do have, I would say, in our African tradition, or overall in our African culture, or even, I want to say, so African culture, you will find that there's a lot of throat chakra blockages. Right? People don't talk about certain things. You don't talk a certain way. You talk with respect. You talk when asked. You talk, and regardless of age, right? Regardless of age, you can be a 40-year-old man and you need to address your parents or, the elderly with a certain form of respect. And no matter how, your expression is being received, you can be shut down, you can be denied, you can be gaslit, you can be rejected right away if it does not fit a certain model. So not even the message is going to be heard. It's just the tone in which it's going to be received that can be blocked. It's the timing can, it's the whole notion of communication that our parents or grandparents or foremothers and fathers abused so much communication style as to where, children or, children becoming adults are totally voiceless, or they cannot utilize their throat chakra appropriately because they had all these curses around how they could talk, speak to one another, speak to elderly, speak to parents. Like it was all, forms of control to really minimize how you would use your truth or express your truth or express emotions, right? And that's going to be different for even the different gender. If you're a man, you can talk, and then, you need to be of a certain age, you need to be in a certain group, have a certain status. If you're a woman, you cannot talk in front of everybody. Like there's so many rules, right? So many curses that, once you start being on your journey, your soul journey, you start looking at those things and you're like, damn, we limit ourselves so much and so easily. Like, why? There's a way of doing things, but it does not need to be controlled as much, right? People need to mature. When we become adults, if we cannot talk to one another as adults, then what is it? Right? You cannot be an eternal child, right? So at some point, there's going to be dissonance in the communication with, family, friends, especially if you're, a very much people pleaser like I was. You're gonna want to silence yourself even before even, thinking something. It's crazy how much imprisonment and curses we've unlocked ourselves in because of control and power. It's crazy, right? And then we have our third eye chakra. And I want to say a lot of our religion pushed for, psychic abilities being of the devil. A lot of religion pushed that in a lot of nations across the globe. So, gifts, talents, uniqueness that are being encoded in your soul as a unique expression of God that has been handed down to you from God itself. I want to say itself because it's not gender based. It's an original power, right? So, something that has been handed down to you, right? Your birthright, right? Is going to be demonized. It's going to be put in a box. It's going to be silenced. It's going to be denied. And it's also going to want to be manipulated from other people as well. Right? So you have your psychic abilities or your intuition, your third eye, where, your senses can be heightened. And we are in a times where, everybody is unraveling these gifts. But depending on the amount of work that you've done will enable you to be centered and in alignment and in acceptance of these gifts. If you have not done the work during this unraveling or during this time of awakening, you might become crazy because you start seeing things, hearing things, you start sensing things, you start feeling things, and you start knowing things, and then you start thinking that you're crazy because all your life, due to the norm or wanting to fit in, people have been telling you that you don't see what you see, or you don't hear what you hear, or you don't sense what you sense, or you don't see the things in your dreams that you see, right? So it's all about the unraveling of the illusions that were placed on your soul or your real identity as to who you really are, that is coming out of the shadows, that is being unraveled, that is being unveiled. And this is the time where you need to be in alignment, because it's going to hit hard when you find out that, all your life you've been intuitive. You've been having these dreams, these premonitions during your dreams. And you've told it to your pastor, your mom, your dad, and they've all denied it. They told you to pray because, it was the working of the devil. Or, you've been told that if you see things into the night, you better go and wash yourself in holy water because you're seeing demons. Like, all these things were tactics to control and to curse your third eye, your intuition, the gifts given to you by God, right? It's crazy, right? It's crazy how things were just placed upside down. So again, as a curse breaker, you're going to want to figure out the types of gifts you've always had since you were a child, but were denied or they were demonized a certain way due to these different curses or these different tactics to keep you limited in this 3D envelope, right? But then when you start doing the work of breaking those curses, you realize that you do have gifts that has been activated within you, whether from childhood or as you awaken on your journey. You'll realize that you are acknowledging those gifts, and they are there to help you on your journey see beyond, feel beyond, know beyond. And these are all handed down because you are a unique expression of the Most High, the power within, God, whatever name you want to call it. Now, I do want to talk about it because it just came into my mind. So I'll talk about it. People that do dark arts, people that chooses to do dark arts, people that work with lower vibrational forces, they do exist. We cannot deny that as well. And they chose to do it. It's everything is about free will, right? Everything is about intent, where your heart is at. If you utilize your gifts, your psychic abilities to do good, to help humanity evolve, right? It is within the alignment of your soul, right? If it is something that is in the alignment of your soul, and you are in alignment within your soul, and you do dark arts, that is up with you. And I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to say it's right or wrong. Okay? But it's a free will. It's a free will here. It's a free will world. Everybody needs to be accountable for their actions and their intents. If you choose to do dark arts and that is in alignment with your soul purpose, like I said, we all come here to play a role. Protagonist, antagonist, opposition, we're all here to play a role. Some people come in this envelope to do real bad, right? And in doing the bad, there is good somewhere being done, right? And then sometimes people want to say, well, it's the work of the devil. But who created the devil? Ultimately, it's God. So if you're with God, who's against you? Even if the devil comes after you, if you pray to God, or if you are in alignment with your soul purpose, who cares? Right? I want to say this because, there's so much fear around the devil, the dark arts, and, I want to call it the dark feminine because ultimately it's the divine, it's the feminine essence, but it's in reversed, or it's the dark feminine essence where we do happen to find that there's a lot of unforbidden or things that are not of this world. It's a realm in and of itself where things are there to be destroyed. It's dark arts, And if it's in alignment with your soul and you're comfortable and you've been called to be doing that, that is up with you and God. And if you are not, if your soul purpose is not to be dwelling in the dark, then it's the other way around. You need to be in the light. Some are being called to be in the dark to transmute to the light. Some are being called to just be in the light. Some are being called to be balancing things. It's different for each and every individual. And we need to stop putting so much fear. And I'm not saying that, things do not exist out there. Like, I've witnessed it. I've been the center of some attacks. So I'm not saying that, it does not exist, or we need to love it, or we need to accept it. We need to acknowledge that it's there, right? And it's going to, it's like, realms, any types of realms exist, right? And we should not fear those different types of realms, especially if you are in your purpose. If you are in your purpose, you know who to call on. You know that things will never get to you because you are on purpose. But if you're not on purpose, obviously you do not have the acknowledgement of this. You're going to want to fear it, right? Because if you don't know something, sometimes, ignorance is going to make you fear things. But when you're in the know, you're on purpose, you're going to acknowledge that there are all types of realms that exist. The lower realms, the higher realms, and all that's in between, right? You need to acknowledge it and don't be ignorant about it. And if you're too pure, right? If you try to be too much in the light and say, we're all here to be in the light, that's not true. Some are here some are here to be, what's the word? Some are here to be, what's the word? Some are here to be uniquely in the dark, or, just in the dark and doing dark things. And that's their purpose. That is why they came here. Some are here to be in the light. Some are here to transmute the energies. Some are here to alchemize the energies. It's different. It's going to be different for every curse breaker. Okay? And lastly, but not all, this is where I was getting with it, is the crown chakra. Now, with the crown chakra is just that inner knowing that we are all interconnected. All our souls are interconnected because we are, now if you know something about the universal laws, right, there is this law of divine unity. So we are all connected, whether we like one another or not, whether we're different from one another or not. We are all unique expressions of the Most High, of the all of, some want to say Allah, some want to say God, some want to say Christ, Jesus. It's up to you, but we are all connected. So when you understand that, you get that everybody plays their part. Every soul comes here to play their part. Some are going to be protagonists. They're going to be here to balance things out in the light. Some are going to come here to play the bad guys, to be the dark lords, to be the magicians, and magicians can be good or bad as well. Good or bad, perceived as good or bad, can be of the light or not, right? Some are going to be here to be opposition to your actual connectivity or connectedness to your soul purpose. So some are going to be here just because their purpose is to be in opposition to where you are going on your evolved journey, right? Some are going to come here to this planet to just do that. Okay, so there are various degrees when you understand that there's this vast, infinite possibility that is created out of your knowing or out of your alignment with your essence or with your soul signature, you realize that you need to sit down and call in the things that your heart desires or your soul desires, right? When you start realizing that the world is vast, right? When you realize that your inner world holds a potential of being a reality, you're going to start tapping in, right? You're going to start tapping in, and you're going to start to realize that you have your own world to bring into this reality, right? Because that's the whole purpose. We're here to bring out expressions of a world that is unique to your soul's signature. Because once you do that, then you are creating a space where other individuals that are resembling or that is part of your soul family are going to be attracted to you. You're going to attract one another like magnets, and it's going to unravel beautifully. And there are going to be many different nations created out of that soul awakening, or worlds being created out of that inner knowing or that soul signature within you. That is why I say, heaven on earth is a choice. Heaven on earth is a choice once you start tapping and being in your soul purpose. The same way as it can go for creating hell on earth can be, just as much as your free will making choices that's going to enable that if you are not in alignment with your soul purpose. So yeah. Does it make sense? I don't know, really. So that's what I wanted to share. Look at that. We've been talking for 56 minutes. Anyways, you guys, I'm gonna leave it there. If you enjoy listening to what I have to say, turn on your post notifications. It's like, I hear it so often that now I'm like, okay, is what it is. Let me just say it then. So you can stay tuned to when I go live, and just keep up on your journey. No matter where you are, just know that you're worthy. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of understanding your inner world. You are worthy of so much more, right? And so on that note, you guys, take care of your minds, your hearts, and your entire being. And I say until next time.